Welcome to the SYRAS video guides. This guide is all about deduplication. It assumes that you've already seen the previous two videos about signing up, registering, logging in, and setting up projects and importing your files. So let me just create a project to import some files into. Deduping demo. And we will upload a set of files that I've got that I know have some duplicates in. As you saw before, SYRAS prompts you to upload some files. So let's upload the first one. This is an EndNote XML. And these have a few hundred references in them. These files have been brought in from several different journal databases on the same topic, and so it's pretty likely that there are some duplicates, some overlapping content from these different databases. Okay, so we found 457 articles in that file. Now, as I mentioned before, SYRAS is prompting you to scan for duplicates, but we don't want to do that at the moment. We want to add more files. So I'm going to pick a second of 3 files that I'm going to upload. And this is getting appended to my data set because I want to upload them all before I do the deduplication for the purposes of this demo. You could run the deduplication after each one, and that would, I guess that would be less likely. It would mean that there would have been duplicates in one journal database, which I guess may be less likely. So let's just avoid deduplication again for the third time, and we'll upload the last of these 3, which gives us a reasonable set of articles. You can see here that SYRAS is warning us that we haven't checked for duplicates since we last uploaded. We had 878 in the last one, so this should be about 1400 or something. Yeah, okay, so with another 500, we've now got 1409 references. Okay, so we can now just click the duplicates button, the scan for duplicates button. Let's have a look at some of the options first. There are a few different matching techniques that you can use. These are being worked on. There may be another one added soon. The most recent addition is the SRA algorithm, which is from Bond University's Systematic Review Assistant platform, which is a similar tool to SYRAS, but a lot broader in scope. And it has an algorithm which they have kindly made open source, which I have incorporated into SYRAS. This combines a bunch of different checks on both metadata and content, and it's pretty good. So I've included that in SYRAS. The previous one in SYRAS was the title search, which worked a bit like a search engine, but just on the title. And it wasn't very good, to be honest. I may remove this in future versions. It's a bit too permissive, so you might want to leave that till last if you use it at all. The other useful matching algorithm technique is the exact title match. This one is very strict, but that's a good thing in a way. This could be an algorithm that you would run first, because if the titles are exactly the same, then it's pretty likely that that's a duplicate, unless it's something like a correction, a corrigendum, or maybe even a reply. Articles sometimes have exactly the same titles, but that's unlikely. So what you could do is you could run the exact title search first, and then get rid of all those duplicates, and then you could move on to something a bit more complex to find, to go a bit deeper. And I'll explain why that might be useful in a bit. Once SYRAS has found the duplicates, there are 2 things you can ask it to do. The default is to put it into a review list, which I will show you. And this allows you to go through each duplicate candidate, or triplicate or quadruplicate, and you can make decisions yourself on what to do with them. However, it may be useful if you've got a lot of duplicates, and especially if you are using the exact title match and you know for sure that SYRAS is getting it right. You could just get SYRAS to just delete all the duplicates immediately. So this doesn't give you any chance to check the decisions that SYRAS has made, but once you get to know the system, you may eventually trust it in some cases to just go ahead and delete immediately. But I'm going to show you the review queue, and initially I'm just going to show you how the SRA algorithm works and what the duplication screens look like. So let's run the scan for duplicates. This may take some time, depending on how large the database is. It may take 30 seconds or something. If it's taking a huge amount of time, then there may be something wrong. But what it's doing is it's literally checking every document with every other document. So that becomes an explosive amount of size. Not exponential. What is it? Combinatorial growth. So let's have a look. What we've been taken here to the review page, which is a table showing pending duplicate candidates, and you can see that this is one page of 20 with 10 duplicate candidates on each. What we're seeing here is for each section we have an article, and the first article is the primary article, the one that was compared against, and this has the index number as just the order that it was found in the original import files. So this was number 32, which would have been in the first import. This one is 919, which was probably in the third import file, if you remember how those numbers were incrementing. So it gives you an idea of which file it was in. I guess it might be useful to have a note here of which file it was in. I'll make a note of that. Inventing features while doing the guides. So what have we got over here? Well, it shows you which method was matched. If you run multiple methods, this may become useful later to know which one it was. And each of the methods have their own sort of matching output. They tell you what they matched on, and so the SRA algorithm, because it matches on various different things, it can tell you which part of that actually matched. Sometimes it could be something like the document object index, or perhaps even the abstract. But here it's saying that the title and the authors matched. So the first row is the primary document, and so SYRAS is saying, well, you want to keep one of them, so let's keep that one. But the second row is exactly the same. It's identical, so SYRAS is prompting you to delete it. This is the title of the second document, and in between the two there is a comparison, and this makes more sense when there are subtle differences between the two. You've got the two titles, and here is a marked up version, a bit like when you do compare document in Word or one of those word processors. So you can see what the changes are. It just sort of helps you, so you don't have to keep doing that visually yourself, manually. The other tools that it has available are you can actually go and have a look at the full article and look at the differences between them. So if you're not sure, I mean, these are pretty obvious, these ones, but if you're not sure, then you can go and have a more detailed look. So here we have the title, the abstract, and the authors, and you can see on the right hand side there that there are 10% differences in the title, 3% differences in the abstract, and 25% differences in the authors. I mean, you can visually see there that they are the same authors, they're just formatted differently. There's a second way of looking at the differences in this little pop-up, which is to have them in line, and that does a similar thing to the what we saw on the table page here. You can see the actual marked up differences between the two documents. Again, we've got the title, and then we've also got the we can see in the abstract that the PsycInfo journal has added their little copyright footer to the end, which is a pretty common thing to see, and it's the first thing that you'll notice when you're looking at these duplicates. that they're nearly duplicates, but not exactly, because they have these slight changes. And we can see that the changes in the author are because they've taken off the first names. Or actually, no, they've added the first names. So in green has been added in PsycInfo. So they have actually expanded that out to have the full names. So this is definitely a duplicate, so we can delete this one. Now, you could switch those around. So if you wanted to keep the one with the lowercase, then you could simply delete that one and keep this one. You can make that choice. So you can see here that there's lots of identicals, and there's a few slightly different ones. Now there's something else popping up here. There's a triplicate. Now normally you will see triplicates in line, but occasionally triplicates become sort of divorced from each other, and so there is one extra tool that allows you to regroup them in a different way. Let's have a look here. This is article 93. It's been matched with 542, but apparently there's another one. If you hover over this, you see that it says here you can try a couple of different things. You could search for the we can search for this, let's say. Just copy that. There's a search panel up here, and that will filter the table down. Yeah, okay, so we can see here that see, now we're only looking at one page because we've searched and we filtered it all down. But you can actually see that it's actually a four-way duplicate. There's quadruplicate. Okay, so that's one way. You could just look at this and you could just process these here. What you will find is that these two little checkboxes here are actually linked together because this is the same article, 542. So you can only operate on it once. It doesn't make sense to delete it twice. So if you delete it there, you're deleting it here. So that's the same thing. Okay? But let's go back and let's look at it another way. The other tool that you can use is this flip order. And what that will do is it will swap what I called the primary document. It'll swap that for the secondary one. And sometimes this allows them to group together better. So if we go flip order and let it reload, what we should find here, it's disappeared. Let's search for it again. So what we've found here is that it has found the triplicate properly. So it's put 542 as the first one, and it's found the other two. And what we don't have now is that split problem, where 542 was the second article of both of these two, if that makes sense. I've been looking at this for too long. So this tool is useful for grouping them in a different way, and now it's a lot simpler. It's a lot easier to understand that we can look at this as the primary. We can look at the differences between that one and the other two, and yep, that's definitely a duplicate. And this may be a different journal. No, it's it's just well, that was the third journal which didn't have that footer. So that's fine. We know we can delete those two. When you're done, when you're ready, you can just click this button here, which will process this set of records. Now we're doing something a bit advanced here. We're in a search tool and so on. But normally what you would be doing is you would be back on page 1 here, and you would just be working your way through the pages. You would look at this and you would say, yep, I agree with that, I agree with that, I agree with that. And at the end of here, you would just click this button and it will process that page for you, and it will go on to the next. So we should have 19 pages left now. Yeah. If you want to have a look at the whole lot, you can expand these out. You can look at all 200. You can see here that you can scroll through the whole lot, and there's a whole bunch of different types of duplicates there. If you're brave, you can whiz to the bottom and you can say, just go for it, do the whole lot. So it can be pretty quick if you trust the system. Now, I haven't actually gone through this in great detail, and that's because I think I'm going to do this a slightly different way. What I'm going to show you is a way of doing the deduplication in 2 passes, which will reduce the workload of looking through these. So let's go back and run this again. You can rerun the deduplication whenever you like. So what I'm going to do is, let's say we've just uploaded these references. I did commit that one page, didn't I? What I'm going to do is I'm going to do an exact duplicate scan, and this will find fewer duplicates. It found 95 last time. Oh, it's found more. I stand corrected. It has found 141 articles had 153 duplicates. Now, if we start looking at these, it'll get really boring. These are all completely identical. So let's have a look at one or two of them. Okay, I stand corrected again. So this is interesting. So this is where you have to pay attention. So this title is exactly the same, but the abstract is completely different. Okay, so reading this, it has been rewritten. Now, I'm not a scientist. I'm not an expert in this. You're probably watching saying, I know what this is. I mean, to me, this looks like, this looks like two different articles. There's two different people. But this is some kind of commentary. I actually mentioned this earlier. It's like a reply or a commentary on another paper. So this is possibly not a duplicate at all, because these are two different commentaries by two different people of a third article which actually originally had this title. So this is not a duplicate. So that one's interesting. Okay, so that ruins what I was going to show you. This just underlines how complicated the topic of deduplication is. What I was going to suggest is that you could just commit all of these absolute duplicates and then go on to delve a bit deeper into the other algorithms. But I stand corrected. This is complicated. Okay, this one here is an example of something that is pretty much identical, but again there are still differences. So here we have an identical title, we have an identical abstract, but someone has fiddled around with the author's names again, and so this is definitely a duplicate. We're happy with getting rid of that one. You can also see that there are some triplicates here, which we can flip and probably see that they will be in triples here, like this. This is a better layout. In a future version of SYRAS, I will attempt to do that triplicate detection automatically, which involves going through the data set over and over and sort of connecting up all the triplicates. This seems an endless topic, deduplication, of making this better. So what you can do is if you trust the exact title search, which I now don't, but let's say you do, you can just come in here and you can commit all of those, because we know that they're perfect matches. Let's do the rest of them. You can have a quick look through them, and if the pattern starts to agree with you, we've got 5 more pages. Let's commit the rest. Once you've finished, it says there are no more duplicates and you can return to the project. So we have resolved 153 duplicates, but the point of that exercise there was I would now like to do another scan with a different algorithm and see what else we find. So in theory, the exact title match was more stricter, and so it should have had less. What I'm thinking now is I may do an exact everything match. Yeah, so that would match an exact abstract, an exact title, and exact authors, and you could quite easily just delete those automatically. So let's look at the SRA duplicate again. This will scan the remaining 1200 references and check for a sort of second wave of duplicates. Okay, so it says it's found 37 duplicates. Now, this is the reason why I wanted to do this, because the SRA, or some of these more complex deduplication algorithms, they turn up more complicated results that require a bit more manual intervention. So they require you to have a look at them. So the idea of running the strict searches first and just quickly deleting everything is to reduce the workload that you're going to have to do when you're looking through them manually. I don't mind going through 37, looking through 37, but I didn't really want to look through 150 manually. That was the idea. So we can have a look at these ones. Again, this is the same sort of thing. Yep, that's a duplicate, that's fine. This one's going to be a similar sort of thing. Oh, okay, here we go. We have a correction. So you've got a choice here. This green has been added in the second article, and red has been removed. So you might want to keep the second article because it has this correction added to the abstract. So I think I might actually swap these two around. What I might do is I might keep this one and delete that one, because I've then got the extra information of what was corrected. Again, I'm not a scientist. That may not be what you want to do, but that's just my thoughts while I was looking at this. So we can have a look through these. That one's a duplicate. What these buttons do here is they just update these options here. You can actually just cancel this. You can click away and it will retain what it was before. Or if you're changing your mind, then you go keep this article. You can see that it's actually changed that to keep. But we do want to delete that one. So having looked through these, I can see that these all seem interesting. I'm pretty confident that I don't want these. This one looks here we go. Look what's happening here. 57% difference. Okay, so there's a big chunk has been deleted from this for some reason. Don't know why that would be, but I would say that we would probably want to keep the original. Keep the one with which one was it? Yeah, this one here. So this has been deleted. So that's okay. Yeah. So we would delete the second one because the first one will have that extra information. So yeah, every time you look at these, you get there's lots of different cases in here. Okay, so here's an interesting one. Someone's done some corrections in here. Oh, I've seen this before. They turn numbers into written numbers. But there are some actual changes here that they have cut out some of the content. Okay, that's just the footer, but there's some spelling or grammar corrections. So yeah, it's up to you which one you want to keep. Like I said before, you can go through them page by page in small amounts, or you can expand that out. You can expand out the page size and go through them all in one go. Yep, that's fine. So hopefully that gives you an idea of some of the tools that are available here. It's not a perfect system. I don't think any deduping system is going to be perfect. We're always working on it. If you have any recommendations for improvements to the deduping system, I'd love to hear them. Because there's all sorts of extra use cases that I'm probably not aware of. I'm going to show you one last thing, which is that we finished that algorithm there, and we've committed those 37. But let's just have another look, because sometimes it will find 2 more or 1 more, especially with the triplicates. So sometimes it's always worth running it again until it says there were no duplicates found. That's good. Now we could do another exact search if we want, and you just keep running this deduplication until it eventually says there was no more duplicates, no matter which one you found. Yeah, okay. Or just for reference, I will show you the title search, which was the previous permissive sort of very, very loose search. This one will probably find some more duplicates, but I think now that we've got rid of all the stricter duplicates, I think that they'll all be false positives. And I'll show you how we can just ignore all of these. Okay, it's found 55, that 55 articles had 111 duplicates. And now we can see that this looks quite different. And this is what the previous version of SYRAS had, and I think it caused a lot of problems. So the title search, it used to give you this kind of match score, which wasn't particularly helpful. But we can actually see here that these just aren't the same. So what it's done is it's tried to eagerly detect that these are similar, but what it's done is a bit like a search engine. It's just found that the topic is the same. So it's got children, auditory processing disorder, and dyslexia, but the words are kind of all in the, these have matched, these grey ones are perfectly matched in that sentence, and that's why it thinks that these might be duplicates, but they're not duplicates, they're just closely related. And ironically, that's going to happen all the time when you're studying a particular topic, because that topic's going to have articles with very, very similar article names. So this technique isn't very useful for deduplication, to be honest. So that's why I said I will probably remove the title search from SYRAS, unless anyone thinks that it's particularly has another use, perhaps. Okay, so now that you have got your data set down to 1,200, unique articles, you can begin screening. That is covered in the next video guide in the series.